Guys, and welcome to our final week, week 8. This is considered your finals week where your final paper is due. Last week, you should have completed a pre-writing exercise, and I put the instructions for the final paper here in the week 7 folder so you could kind of prepare yourself whether you wanted to kind of write a rough draft or get started on, putting together any kind of ideas or anything for what you wanted to write about. So this week, your final paper is going to be due by the 23rd at midnight. That is set forth by the college campus for our 8 weeks class. That's when all finals have to be completed. That's why you don't get until Sunday like normal. It's just because that is when our final is scheduled. So it has to be submitted by Thursday, the 23rd. So just please make sure you get it done in time. So you're going to have about four papers. You're going to have about 4 days to get your paper finalized and submitted. I went over the instructions in detail last week, so I'm not going to go over it in massive detail this week. You can go back and watch the week 7 lecture video if you want to see kind of me going through the details. But basically, I'm just going to kind of just briefly go over what you need to focus on if you did not watch that last week or if you haven't actually looked at the instructions for the final paper yet. This first paragraph is telling you specifically what your goal is, what you need to be writing about. And it also tells you here, other than what it is that you need to be focused on and writing about, it's also telling you that you need to consider two major concepts in the class that had some sort of impact on you, whether it was something that you feel like is going to help you towards your future success moving forward in college, or whether it's something that's going to help you towards your future success and being able to get into the career that you're hoping to get into. You need to figure out a way to incorporate two major concepts. That could be something from the reading. It could be something from one of the assignments that you did. It could be something from one of the assessments that we did. There's a lot of different things that potentially may have had some sort of impact on you in the class that taught you something or that made you think more on certain topics and kind of, make you think more on how you could incorporate that into being more successful. And so you need to figure out a way to incorporate that into your paper. And you can choose how you want to incorporate it into your paper, but you just basically need to consider two topics and be specific in your paper. Like if you are going to use one of the assessments as something that you're talking about in your paper, you need to specifically state what assessment it is that you were talking about that had an impact on you. Or if there was a certain activity that you did in the class, you need to state that activity specifically so that way I can find in your paper what it is that you're saying that was in the class basically that had some sort of positive impact on you towards your future success or towards attaining your goal of getting into your career. So just please be specific with it. And then I kind of gave you basically the basic flow of the paper. The bare minimum is that you need to have at least 5 paragraphs, and each paragraph has to have 5 sentences per paragraph. There's not a word count. It's more, I'm looking for you having basically an introductory paragraph, basically 3 paragraphs in the middle. That's the body of your work, and then a conclusion where you're kind of wrapping everything up. And just in your introductory paragraph, I would just say, basically spell out what it is that you're planning to discuss. Like somebody new is coming into it that doesn't know anything about you, and you're talking about the career field that you want to go into or one that you're interested in going into, and maybe be specific, like what types of things you plan to discuss about the career field, and even be specific about what parts of the class had an impact on you that you're, planning to discuss in your paper. So you're kind of mapping it out right there in the introduction paragraph. And then you can basically go on and use that flow to, do your body of your work, your 3 paragraphs that are going to be the body of your paper. And then just basically that last paragraph is just kind of wrapping it all up, maybe summarizing what you talked about, and then just kind of, giving an ending point to your paper. And that's basically the flow of it. It's not anything too terribly difficult. It's not even necessarily a page count. You just need to make sure that, okay, I don't know what just happened. Hopefully I was still there. Something just popped up on my screen, and I don't know if it actually popped up on your screen, but okay. Anyway, just basically make sure that you're doing those 5 paragraphs and you have 5 sentences per paragraph. And then here I put another little ditty about proofreading your paper, trying to catch any little simple mistakes, grammar, punctuation, capitalizing the beginning of your sentences, making sure you're putting periods where they need to go, not having major run-on sentences, things like that that are simple. I'm not an English teacher, so I'm not going to completely just go through your paper with a fine-tooth comb, but I'm going to be looking for very simple grammar and punctuation mistakes that are something that you could easily catch yourself. And I'm looking to see basically whether or not you did proofread your paper and whether you did catch little things like that and try to correct them before you submitted your final work. So just be aware of that. And, if you do have a friend, family member, someone within your household that's willing to read your paper after you're done with it, to kind of proofread it too, and maybe them with a fresh set of eyes can kind of go through and point out if there's something that doesn't make sense, or maybe that they caught a punctuation or grammar error or something like that. It might be helpful to you as well, just to have something like that if you can. And then down here, basically, I just put ways that you could get potential deductions on the paper. So make sure you read through that so you're aware of where I'm going to be potentially looking for if points are going to be taken off. These are going to be why. And just make sure that you do, at the end of your paper, have a reference page, because you do need to have at least 3 reliable research resources. And if you remember back many weeks ago, we did that career research activity where you talked about the career you plan to go into or one that you're interested in. And you would have already gotten some resources for that assignment. So you can refer back to that for a little help if you want to go back to some of those websites to use that information, or whether you use new ones, that's fine. Just make sure you leave a reference page at the end of your paper. And then you also need to make sure that if you take any information, whether you are paraphrasing that information into your own words, whether you're summarizing something that you've read off of a website or something like that, or whether you are actually directly quoting something from a website or a book, article, or magazine, that you're basically doing an in-text citation. So within wherever you're typing it up, if you take some sort of information, whether directly or indirectly, and you're using it in your paper, make sure you're doing an in-text citation and giving credit to the author, the website, whatever it is. So that way, you're not plagiarizing, because you really want to practice the skill now, because in some of your other classes where that is going to be even more, somebody's going to really look at that more stringently, you want to make sure that you know how to do that. So it's just kind of a way for you to practice it on this very simple paper. And if you're not sure how to do a reference page or how to do in-text citations properly, then please click on this link, because it's kind of a tip sheet, and it's a very condensed way of looking at the APA manual, and it's a lot more simple. So depending on whether you got a reference from a website, a book, a magazine, an article, it'll actually tell you and show you how to reference it properly depending on what the resource was that you used. And then at the very end, when you scroll to the bottom, you'll actually see a section that talks about in-text citations. And for that, it will also tell you, depending on whether you paraphrased information, meaning you put it in your own words, how you would do an in-text citation for that. If you are actually summarizing information, or whether you are directly quoting information from the resource, it'll actually show you how to do that in-text citation within the body of your work. So just make sure you review that if you're not sure how to do it. If you haven't had to do like an APA style paper before in the past, this is a really good tip sheet, and it's very simple to follow along. And you may even find it useful to save it to your computer for something that you can refer back to, later on in the future if you have to write another paper like that. And if you don't remember how to do certain things, it has a lot of good tips and examples and things like that, so you can actually see how to do it. So yeah, that's basically the main gist of the paper, and ways that you could potentially lose points. So just make sure you read through it all, understand what it is that you're doing. Shoot me an email if you have a question about something on the paper, but it's pretty straightforward. It's not a very difficult paper to write, so I don't suspect that too many people are going to have a lot of questions on it. And on the actual, I'm just going to click on the actual assignment folder really quick before we kind of wrap up this short little video. But on the final paper assignment folder, when you open it up, I do put the instructions for the paper there again. but I am asking that you save your paper to a Microsoft Word document. It can be .doc or it can be .docx, depending on what version you can potentially get a hold of. If you don't have Microsoft Word, you can potentially look online to see if you can download like a free version, whether there's different ways to get it. I know people don't necessarily have to purchase Microsoft Word to be able to use it. I know people have found ways to get a hold of it, or even if you can go on campus and use one of the campus computers, you'd be able to use Microsoft Word on the campus computers. Or if you have a Chromebook, if you type everything up in Google Docs, you can actually go up to the file folder at the top of Google Docs. And on the drop-down menu, if you go to the little section that says download as, you can actually then convert your Google document to a Microsoft Word document to save it on your computer as a Microsoft Word document. And then you'd be able to upload it as a Microsoft Word document. So those are a few things. If for some reason, even after all of this, if you can't find something on the internet to let you have access to Microsoft Word, just please let me know. But basically, the reason I'm asking for it to be uploaded as a Microsoft Word document is because in Canvas, when you upload a Microsoft Word document, I can actually directly make comments, leave any kind of information directly on your paper. So basically, like if I were grading it in class and actually marking things out with like a red marker and I'm putting things on your paper, I can basically do that in Canvas on a Microsoft Word document. So that's why I'm trying to get everyone to submit it as a Microsoft Word document. And I did kind of put in our syllabus at the beginning of class too, that you did need to have access to Microsoft Word, PowerPoint, stuff like that. So hopefully all of you have some way to get onto Microsoft Word. So anyway, just shoot me an email if you have any questions, or if something doesn't make sense or whatever. Just please make sure that you have your final paper submitted by the 23rd at midnight. And if you still have any late assignments, missing assignments that you haven't done yet, I will still accept them, but Thursday is the last day. So basically, if you don't get any of your late or missing assignments done by Thursday at midnight, I will not accept them after that point. You'll essentially get a 0 on it, and that's final for that. So please do not ask me to consider taking your late work, because I've put out plenty of reminders about getting your late work submitted all throughout the class. So Thursday will be the final day at midnight for that as well. And other than that, I will have to get final grades submitted early next week. So that's why I need everything submitted by Thursday, so I have time to grade the papers. I have time for any last minute late exercises that were turned in by Thursday, so I can get everything graded, because I have no choice. I have to submit final grades at a certain time. So other than that, I hope all of you at least got a few things out of this class that might have been helpful towards you, and going forward with college career, whether you're already almost to the point that you're about to go enter your career, because some of you are not at the beginning of your college journey. Some of you are more towards the end. So I wish you all the best of luck. I hope that the new resource that we used for this summer semester was good for most everyone. There were a couple of hiccups, and you guys were the piloting class for this, as there was only 2 classes this summer that were actually piloting this new resource that we used. But hopefully you found it useful, that everything was there on Canvas and you didn't have to buy a textbook and things like that. Hopefully that was something that was beneficial and good for you all. But if you have any feedback about that, I welcome it. If you want to email me if there was anything that, worked well or didn't work well or something like that. I value the feedback. I don't think normally they do a course evaluation, but I don't think in the summer they actually do them. So, if you have any kind of feedback, that's something that I can also give to the director of the program as a consideration for us being able to update anything on this new resource to try to make it a little bit better. But other than that, I wish you all the best of luck, and I hope to still hear from some of you from time to time. Sometimes I still have students from years ago that still contact me every once in a while. So feel free, if you ever have questions or you need to contact me by email, feel free if you need to. So, all right. Well, I hope you have a good last few weeks before you have to start the fall semester. I am going to enjoy it. It's going to be a nice little break. So I will see you all later.